How are all of you? I hope you'll enjoy this next video. We will go over some of the foods and beverages that you should steer clear of if you have an enlarged prostate. To begin, let's discuss starch in more detail. White bread, pasta, and rice are examples of foods that should be avoided because they include starch, which is connected with an increased chance of having a prostate that is enlarged. Although the precise process behind why this occurs is not completely understood, it appears to be related to the consumption of meals with a high glycemic index. White bread, pasta, and rice are examples of foods with a high glycemic index. There appears to be a connection between an increased glycemic index and insulin signaling, which results in an enlarged prostate. The following category consists of dairy products such as milk, yogurt, and cheese. It is possible that a higher use of these goods is linked to an increased risk of developing prostate cancer. Even if there is conflicting information, it is probably best to steer clear of dairy products in order to lower the possibility of developing prostate cancer. To summarize, it is essential to stay away from starch, because eating it is linked to an increased risk of prostate enlargement. This is possibly because of the high glycemic index that starch possesses. In addition, although the evidence is contradictory, there may be a correlation between a high consumption of dairy products and an increased risk of prostate cancer. This is despite the fact that the evidence is contradictory. Moving on to the next one, research has shown that eating a diet that is high in protein is associated with an increased risk of having a prostate that is enlarged. It seems that there is a causal process at play here, and it occurs with proteins derived from both animals and plants. On the other hand, the protein found in animals looks worse. In conclusion, when it comes to high-protein diets, the protein that comes from plants is preferable to the protein that comes from animals for the health of the prostate. To be more specific, there is evidence to suggest that eating red meat may also raise the likelihood of developing an enlarged prostate. Therefore, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons can be produced when meat is grilled or barbecued in an environment where there is some burning or scorching of the flesh. It would suggest that the synthesis of these chemicals is to blame for this phenomenon. Because of this, when we talk about red meat, a lot of the time it might be the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons that are in the flesh, particularly when it's grilled or barbecued. Because of this, it is essential to steer clear of meals that are high in protein, particularly diets that contain protein derived from animal sources. It appears that this is related to or linked to an increased chance of the prostate being enlarged. The consumption of red meat, in particular, is associated with an increased risk of prostate cancer and enlargement. However, this association appears to be mostly attributable to polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are essentially pollutants that are produced whenever red meat is grilled or barbecued. It is known that drinking beer elevates prolactin levels and that drinking a lot of beer may increase the risk of BPH. Beer has also been linked to an enlarged prostate. Therefore, it is known that drinking beer boosts prolactin levels. An enlarged prostate is also known as benign prostatic hyperplasia in some medical circles. It isn't quite apparent, but it looks like if there is a risk or an increased risk of an enlarged prostate with beer drinking, it's when you drink a lot of beer. This isn't completely clear, though. This is not like any other kind of liquor or alcohol that I have tried. According to the findings of previous studies, drinking beer in small or moderate amounts may actually reduce the risk of developing a prostate that is too large, because of caffeine's diuretic properties, which cause an increase in the desire to urinate more frequently. Drinking caffeinated beverages may make symptoms of a lower urinary tract infection worse in men who already have an enlarged prostate. Beer and alcohol, in a similar fashion, can both have a diuretic effect and exacerbate these symptoms. It is advisable to avoid drinking these beverages in large quantities in order to reduce the symptoms. Diets that are high in fat have been linked to an increased chance of developing prostate cancer as well as the advancement of the disease. A high sodium intake, on the other hand, does not have an effect on the growth of the prostate. Nonetheless, it can exacerbate the symptoms associated with an enlarged prostate, such as those related to the lower urinary tract. Consequently, if you have an enlarged prostate, it is in your best interest to steer clear of diets that are heavy in both fat and sodium intake. If you found this tutorial to be informative, please show your appreciation by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you again.